You're set for a while. Test 1, 2. Bills. What you got back behind?
It's from Farnsworth.
Oh, the plans?
Oh, so I'm not sure where we need to put those. Okay, it is 8:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If I could have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Before I go on with that, we've lowered the public comment time to 3 minutes. I don't see a need for that.
I just thought with this morning's group, we had a couple of things that we wanted to go through. If it needs to run over a little bit, fine, Jacob, but I thought we should try to accommodate those that are out of town here. This is about the jail and also about the Shenandoah Hills Flynn project. So if we need to run over a little bit, you're going to be running the timing clock. So you're sure welcome to stretch it out a little bit if you need to, sir.
But I don't want to lower it to anything. So 5 minutes is fine. So
Okay.
I don't know what we need to do on that. I want to change it to 5 minutes and I'll
Just
do that.
set your clock at 5 minutes. When we get ready to start under public comment, then we'll go. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. This time, the motion to approve.
All right.
Second?
Yeah. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please rise with me and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. This time, public comment. So anybody that would like to speak? Yes, Charlotte.
Good morning, gentlemen. Sherry Hunter down by Blanchard. I just wanted to just let you guys know that with the last few rainfalls, we've had a terrible time getting up our hills on our gravel roads. I have spoken to JD King about it as well.
Okay.
Just wanted to make you guys aware. I know you can't get out to all the roads, and I know we've had a lot of rain, but we're grading them flat. We used to have a crown in the road, and now we have these like spots that are just, and every time it rains, we get these holes. And if you can't afford a 4-wheel drive SUV like us and just drive a minivan with 6 kids, it's hard to get up the hills. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. Thanks.
And you had talked to JD. you
I
said,
did.
right?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else?
Jane Stimson. I just have a kind of an interesting thing that happened in the last couple of months. Ran into a guy that's, his main job is serious incident manager for a major wind turbine manufacturer. And so I just asked a lot of questions. I wasn't trying to lead him on. I asked a lot of questions. Mainly, I wanted to get a manual for the manufacturer that talks about all the serious safety precautions that's been taken off the internet now. And we can't find it. So he said, oh yeah, they're out there. I can get you one if you need it. So that was good. Then I asked him questions. I said, no, we've got a setback 1,500 feet from our house. What do you think about that? He shook his head. He goes to these incidents. He does decommissioning, recommissioning, and thermal repair. I said, what's thermal repair? He said, it's fire, but we're not supposed to use the word fire. These incidents, I said to him, so these incidents that we warn people about and that we're worried about, they don't really happen that often, do they? He didn't say no. He said, they do happen. And he said, ice chunks, we got talking about ice fling and 1,500 feet and that kind of thing. And he said, ice chunks have been, they've seen ice chunks the size of an F-150 truck come off those. He said, not all the ice chunks are these little slivers, these little pieces of ice. They have seen an ice chunk the size of an F-150. So I asked him, you know, I tried to get him to sell me, and he wasn't selling me on wind turbines. His last remark was, you should keep them out of your county.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm Mary Ann Gibson, a landowner in Morton and Lincoln Township. I noticed by the agenda that the board is going to be communicating with the Invenergy representatives this morning. And as you prepare to receive the project, which I'm assuming is going to be happening soon from our engineer, I wonder, I hope that you will be asking questions regarding the environmental impact on wildlife in the footprint and in the area covered by the project. I will be curious as a resident and a nature lover, as I know many people who live in our area are, what information you will receive regarding the environmental impact of this project on the areas in our county for which it is proposed. I want you to pay attention to what specific information you receive regarding the survey of bald eagle nesting sites in the area. And I'm assuming that you will attend to what guidance and risk assessment and conservation measures of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which have been recommended, which address this project. And I want you to pay attention to and understand and examine what specific wildlife are included in the environmental report. What birds of prey, bats, what other wildlife are included. Because these are important aspects of any kind of project that is implemented in Page County. You know, in addition to the stress on people who live in the footprint of the project, there will be stress on the wildlife, and it's your responsibility to be examining that and holding the company accountable. Thank you.
Thanks.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Brandon Hunter. Just something quick, I guess. I don't know if you guys know, or the construction company that's doing the substation over Page County area. I don't know, but it's not a local company. So it's just something else that was promised. There's going to be a bunch of jobs for local people. And I haven't seen that yet. And so I just wanted to point that out. There's something else that, you know, the energy hasn't followed through with, as far as I can see. So I just wanted to point that out.
Anyone else have any comments? Oh, yes, Jim. John.
Good morning, John Stimson. MISO, multi-state grid operator, has warned that there's going to be some blackouts this summer here in the upper Midwest. We've heard about the ones in California and Texas. The main reason is the closing of the coal plants. In building in responding to the call to switch to solar and to wind, we are responding to the extremists that are wanting to close as many coal plants regardless of whether there's replacement power. That's what I understand. Unless we fight this, unless we fight the closing of it, of our power sources, our continuous power sources, just repeating ourselves, the solar and the wind are intermittent suppliers of energy because they're dependent upon the wind and upon the sun. The sun only shines a certain percentage of the time, and the wind only blows, a certain percentage of the time. So there will be blackouts. People are going to have to get generators. If you don't have a generator, if you have a crucial business that needs power 24/7, you better have a generator on hand because it looks like it's headed that way. There's a lot more I could say, but I think that pretty much summarizes it.
Anyone else at this time? Public comment? Oh, Tom?
I'm Tom French, and I'm a resident in Page County in the country. And I'm a retired art teacher. And so aesthetically, these windmills, they just don't look nice. And I think it's kind of like a cancer where I'm seeing all these windmills going up all over our state. Driving from Des Moines to Shenandoah, I went, geez, they're all over the place. And the other night, we're over at the neighbor's house, looked out their dining room, all those red lights down there. Well, you don't see those windmills during the day because they're 22 miles away. But at night, it's like a landing field. So anyway, I just say aesthetically, I just don't think they look good, and I'd rather not look at them.
I'm Denise Sunderman, and I just want to read this little statement. A county supervisor's duty is to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and property of the county, of its residents, and to preserve and improve the peace, the safety, the health, welfare, and comfort of convenience of its residents. I just want to remind you of, gentlemen, this is your duty, and we hope that you would uphold that. And there's a lot of people in this county that feel that they're being, their health is being taken advantage of. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Are you taking it online?
Sure, yes.
Okay, this is Ashley Yarkowski, and I just wanted to remind you guys that seeing on the agenda that there is a project being presented today that you're overlooking. You guys did say in multiple meetings that when you did get a project in front of you, that you would take the time to look it over, to also check back into the ordinance, depending on the height of the turbines, the placement of the turbines, and also to hold a public meeting for citizens. We were told that multiple times in meetings, so I just wanted to remind you guys of that and make sure that you remembered about that. And also to go with the environmental studies, we've had a bird watcher sit a half a mile up the hill from our house for over 2.5 years, and he has seen multiple bald eagles. We've made him aware of the bald eagle's nest in our area. He said it doesn't matter what he writes on his paper, that they'll fudge the numbers, that he could sit there all day. He's only allowed to sit there for 2 hours. If he doesn't see anything within them 2 hours, he can leave, and he comes on the windiest days. He makes sure that after the birds have migrated, then he shows up. He shows up when eagles are done nesting and done. I mean, like, we don't see him in the wintertime when the eagles are out looking for food and stuff. So it's very calculated on when they send their environmentalists and their bird watchers out to report on their papers. That's for sure. I mean, we've noticed, and he has made comments about the way the business works. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We also have drone footage of bald eagles in our area and everything. I just don't feel, I would like to find somebody higher up to hand them into instead of the 2 guys that come to the meetings. So I just wanted to make you guys all aware of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Is there anyone else online? Okay. At this time, we'll close public comments and go into the engineer update.
Good morning, JD King, Page County Engineer. We'll keep this short. You got this morning. There was no staff meeting yesterday. We're hauling rock, we're blading. Roads push out over time. Attempt to try to put Crowl back in the roads. Sherry's right, we fight that all the time. Got a couple more going. Ray Patrick working on M56. We're not running the pipe crew today. They're split up helping other operations, and one of our maintenance guys is helping the pavers. We're finally getting around to working on the hoist at the shop. The adjuster part of the track frame on the skid steer is, we had a broken track frame part. We got that parts in for that. Now our adjuster not quite working. Services, regular routines. We have a tandem that's not starting right now. And according to the truck dealer, we have a truck coming in this week. We'll pay for it this fiscal year, the cabin chassis. Henningson's paving out on the Stanton Road. Hopefully we'll have a better week than we did last week. Last week we paved Monday and Friday. It'll take us quite a while doing 2 days a week, but a couple of weeks of paving should take care of the Stanton Road. Remember, there are other operations there, so the project won't be done. Project development work is ongoing. I'll meet the utility guy out the Essex Bridge later this morning. And then I have an announcement of some pavement preservation work that will shut some roads for a day at a time. We're gonna put a fog seal on J32 from Shenandoah to M41, 4 miles east there on Ferguson Road. We've done this before. We're also gonna pick up the short stretch on T Avenue south of Browns there on the corner down to 220th Street. That has not been done before. Usually we buy a tanker load of fog seal work. This year we're buying half a tanker. And there's going to be a new engineer in Taylor County tomorrow named Justin Savage. Questions for me? Thanks, John, for your comments about continuous power.
So the farm to market rock haul, when do you anticipate you'll be done?
Week. They should start their hauling to Taylor County now. They've been hauling there. I anticipate they should be in here in a week, hopefully next week. but I haven't heard lately. Also waiting on information from the seal coat operation, Blacktop Services, Blacktop Service out of Humboldt. He's supposed to call me back today. Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, JD. Okay, next item up is discuss approved study of impact of closing Page County Jail, Samuels Group. Greg, you're here, and I know that we've all received some information regarding that. What would you else like to share with us?
Good morning, Greg Wild from the Samuels Group. You asked a couple of weeks ago for us to look at and provide a proposal to consider formally closing the existing Page County Jail. What you've been provided is a proposal that covers at least 15 areas that we'll look at as we begin to peel back that onion. It's a pretty intensive effort, and it will last probably 6 to 8 weeks is what we're estimating. We'll look at the detailed items in terms of hard costs, but we'll also look at some of those hidden costs of potential liability, insurance risk, what would happen without the facility down the street. We'll also look at some things that we'll consider public safety as well as staff safety. So we did not anticipate or look at that in our initial jail study. And the reason for that was that we've got an existing facility that's been operating for quite some time, and Iowa code mandates that county sheriffs provide a adequate jail facility. So questions or concerns or?
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm just going to say, we're looking at a $5,000 study versus $25,000 study, feasibility study of building and doing that. So that's kind of where we're at with this.
Well, the study's different.
Yes, two different studies, yes, but this would be if we weren't to build, this would give us some ideas of what happens if we were to lose the jail.
And just to be clear, I know it says it here, but if you read it real quick, people think it looks like we're closing the jail. We're not closing the jail.
No.
This is just a work to see what it would cost if that ever would come to that point someday. Yeah, just to point that out.
And to clarify, that $5,000 to study that concept is proposed here. The $25,000 would be the next step of actually planning for a replacement facility for that facility.
Right.
So they're kind of
two different things.
Two very different things.
Yes.
But Greg, in the proposed $25,000 study, were there not some items that would give us an indication of what the cost of not building? Was there any of that data in that $25,000?
Not nearly to this extent.
Okay.
What we would look at would be looking at staff savings, again, based on a new replacement facility, because that will change the operations a little bit of what's required. You may also look at some operational savings of lower utility costs, food service, and those sorts of things. But it wouldn't be to near the extent that what we outlined in these 15 areas that we look at a more in-depth study.
Well, it's maybe more in depth. I went down and asked the auditor's office to look at our budget, what we spend on jailers and all that. Just there's food, you have to, I don't know, it maybe has to be spent either way. But right now we're spending $700,000 a year on our jail staff and food and all that stuff. I know a lot of that will be duplicated, some of that, I don't know where we are, but I think this is going to be a very, very, maybe more detailed, but I wonder if we couldn't sit down, I think it's sheriff and the auditor and our budget, and get an estimate of this is not like we're doing a hard line thing here. We don't need it to be within $10. We just need to know generally how much risk are we exposed to within. There can be some flex there. It's just I don't know if I want to spend $5,000 to get a general estimate. I think we could almost come up with one if we all just sat down and worked it out. And I really thought that would come against the $25,000. I can't, so you're saying that's extra.
Well,
It'd be 30 if we go forward, like after we make our estimate, we decide to go forward, then we'd be spending 30,000 then. I don't like the idea of that at all. I think we could come up with a ballpark estimate of what we're saving and what we're gonna spend ballpark, which is, it doesn't need to be, I don't think it needs to be to the penny, or even within a few percent. I mean, it can be, I think we can get an idea what the jails around us charge to take and do a mileage figure and an estimate of how many times we book people in a month. We can probably come up with some of those numbers, couldn't we? I mean, you're gonna ask Lyle for those numbers, aren't you?
we will ask for some of those numbers, absolutely.
No, you might do it to a greater degree than we would do it, to more of a finished amount, but this is not. This is so we have a feeling of, if we do nothing, what are we at risk of being under for a year or two while we do something? I don't know that I want to myself. I don't know that it's worth that, especially if it doesn't come against the 25,000. I really don't like that. So that's just what I think.
Well, as I've outlined in our proposed additional services, we did not consider that and wouldn't consider that because we look at the replacement facility as the path forward.
Right.
If this is an alternate path, then we'd absolutely help you look at that alternate path. And if we're not involved in that, I would highly encourage you to kind of take this proposal and look at each of those elements because they will have both financial impacts as well as safety impacts.
I don't think we're planning on never having a jail, like hauling prisoners forever, unless it becomes a very, very obvious feasible thing, which no one else has done, so I'm guessing it's not. This is just to know what risk we're under, am I right? That's kind of what we're after here.
Yeah, kind of. And then in reviewing the jail studies from 2017 and 2018, we spent some money to structurally improve the existing jail. And in that report, and you can go look at it, Delbert says, he's the jail inspector, says that this will buy you 5 years. Beyond that, you're kind of on your own.
What risk are we at? Yeah, we're at a risk there. And that's what we're trying to assess, a risk is what I'm getting. We need a ballpark assessment. Because materials are high, everything's high, so we're trying to think how much time do we have? That's why I'm looking at it. And if for some reason he shut the jail down quicker than we would think he might, maybe speeds it up even, what are we gonna have to spend hauling prisoners is what we're trying to come up with, I think, as we work this out. But I'm not against looking into a jail at all, but I think we could ballpark it without spending $5,000.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think and we were going to do that at some point. I mean, when you move forward with producing the plans and the architectural specs, when you have your meetings, you talk about okay, here's what it's going to cost to build one. Here are the projected costs of not building one. I mean, that's part of that. Even though it's not quite as in depth, that's part of the strategy when you move forward on the $25,000 study. But no, I'm with you. I don't think that we need to spend $5,000 for this purpose. I think we can ballpark it enough to get the data to prove that it's not a very fiscally responsible way of approaching a jail.
Correct. Okay. So I think we appreciate your time coming down.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to guess there's not going to be a motion to approve or disapprove, so we'll just make a decision to just let that slide and to not do anything at all with that.
And then we'll look at the next phase after we.
Yeah, here another month by month, because you thought we originally 6 months was a safe time window for us to make some decisions on this next phase.
Yes.
After that, then we're pushing the element of redesigning everything and updating all the numbers. So over the next 180 days or less, we'll make a decision on what we're going to do and move forward.
Very good.
Fair.
So
Did I answer your
I think
questions
so.
and respond to your request?
Perfect. Yes.
If you have any other questions in the future, please reach out. We're happy to help.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you,
Greg.
Greg. Appreciate it.
Coming.
Now, do you want to, Jacob, while we're on the subject, do you want to set up a time? Do you want to continue working on that with Lyle and with the auditor's office on costs? Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Okay. Next item up, and we're right on time, is to discuss the Shenandoah Hills Wind Project and scheduling with Mark Crowl and Isaac Lamppa. You guys want to speak?
All right, Mark Crowl, Development Manager with Invenergy. Thanks for letting me get on the agenda today and have a couple requests here, but I'll keep it, fairly brief. I think really here to have an ask, and then also just I guess maybe make an announcement here. But it was mentioned earlier about the public meeting, and that has been discussed previously, and something that would come before a potential vote on the Shenandoah Hills project. So we have actually booked the Waterfalls wedding venue in Farragut at 7 p.m. and we're planning to do a public meeting there where myself and Isaac can give a presentation about the project, everything that was included in our application, and also bring in a bunch of subject matter experts that can answer a lot of detailed questions as well. So really have that set up as a time there on the 13th for people to voice concerns, to get answers, and have us give an opportunity to be able to dive into all the details of the application that we put forward. So, one kind of wanted to make sure that works for everybody and let you all know that we have had that planned. And then the second part of this is just also requesting a vote for our project on the supervisor meeting on the 14th. I think it would make a lot of sense to have that public meeting the night before, and then be able to come in and have a vote there after that. So that's really what I'm here to do.
What time on the 13th do you have that planned?
7 p.m. Yes, sir.
A public meeting is not one held by the salesmen to sell their wares. That's not a public meeting with their experts. That's a meeting you come to in public, but it's not a public governmental decision meeting.
No, it's not a government.
It would be in public and come, I guess,
Yes,
and ask
a
questions.
meeting for the public.
That would not count as our meeting, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I think it would. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it?
We're not hosting it.
Did you really just say that, Chuck?
I did.
So
I think the whole thing to consider here is I'm not sure, I'd have to look back at the minutes, but we've had several meetings and a lot of discussion over this. It's either.
So you're saying one more thing you guys lied about?
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Ashley, please. What I'm saying is that if anybody feels like they've not had a fair chance to visit with anyone on this subject, I would welcome them to give a call to anybody they want. We've had plenty of public comment time. We've had plenty of meetings. We've been discussing this, I believe, since 2018 in our board meetings. We've heard from a lot of different people. We've done a lot of research. Goes back to when John Herzberg was on the board. And will this ever make everyone happy? No. But we still have not voted. But at this time, I think that I guess I'm not sure what would make everyone happy, but it's not going to probably make everyone happy. So I feel that a meeting that is being held with question and answers, I don't know what else can be done. So.
Well, one question, what we have to work with, that's them, people go to their meeting and hear what they have to say, that's fine, and ask questions. But what we have to do, and what was said, was we got these maps yesterday. And
well, actually, the maps were brought in. I'm not sure when JD received them. They became public knowledge. And I know that several people have asked for those. So
several
whether they had,
and this is for the
whether they had or not.
Rest of their lives, we need to study these things and work. And then there might be people that still don't know what's going on. I think there needs to be
Yeah.
time for them to come in, maybe they don't know, and then also,
We'll get the word out, June 13th. We got
Yeah.
2 weeks to get people
Yeah,
to a meeting.
yes. And there's.
and I don't know
28
your.
Get people-
hours to process that information before he wants you to vote.
There's actually,
The night
there's,
before he wants you to vote.
there's actually 28 towers coming into this project. All of that information is available for anybody today. That gives everybody 2 more weeks to discuss it. I don't know how we can ever extend this unless we go for. Yeah, well,
Well, I remember it was, we did have, and we can go back and look at the minutes or whatever, the video. So once the plan was brought forth, the JD said was okay. Once he approved it, you guys said, I just remember, I get, I think, we would take serious time and consideration from that point on. I do.
yeah,
Here it is.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it for 3 years.
it was with the engineers, so I presume that anybody would know that it would be, and I apologize, I can't call everybody in the county, Jane, and I'm sorry. Yeah.
It was received by public officials at that
Yeah.
point of public record.
Until it's approved, and now, I mean, by him, he's submitted us and, hey, this is here. Now it is really, here's the whole kit and caboodle. And this meeting kind of, sort of brings that, so. And I don't think waiting a month's a big deal. 2 more weeks isn't gonna solve anything. I think at least it should be a month, 4 weeks to have time to make sure, especially why, not anybody else, but the people who live out there, like me, they are busier and all get out right now, trying to put the crop in and make hay and think about other things. They can't think about anything else. But this is for good too. This is a big deal here. This isn't some temporary little 1-year decision, so.
Once again, I'm sorry too, but we were following your guys' lead. So for you to push us off, now you kept saying we would hold a public meeting once we had a project. So now for you, Alan, to say that we've had multiple times you guys could come in and say public comment, those were you and Chuck's words, that we would hold a public meeting when we had a project in front of us.
Are holding a public meeting. Did I say there was going to be a public meeting during
The
our?
turbine company is, you aren't, the wind turbine company is.
I guess I don't.
Once again, you lied. You lied.
We really are trying to just set a meeting so we can get a lot of information out. Have people that have the concerns be able to get answers from a combination of myself and people, that are experts in any given field. So the idea would be we have somebody there that can answer anything about the application or about wind in general.
Okay.
They have the right to hold their meeting. I'm not saying they can't hold their meeting, but that's just our public hearing.
I don't think that we talked about a public hearing.
Whoa, we'll bring that up on video. We will bring that up.
Pardon? Yeah. I think we discussed public meetings. We never discussed a public hearing. There is no public hearing necessary for this. It's going to be a decision that's going to be made by a vote of the supervisors. Public hearing has nothing to do with this. So we're going to take the information.
I don't know if you know, Alan, but you're up for re-election and you're lying on camera right now.
I'm going to guess that if I didn't know that, Ashley, we would both be silly. So I'm sorry.
Well, I do think it was said, maybe not public. I think a public meeting, I do think that was said, and I think that could be found pretty easily.
I'm not going to disagree.
Having a public meeting, and this is a public meeting.
Now that does not count as what we're talking about.
Why? Everybody's invited. You can express your concern. We will be there.
It just, that is not.
Well,
whoever's house it's in is who, I mean, they're hosting this. This is their house. This is their experts. I mean, this would be like the Fox is having a convention to design hen houses. I mean, this doesn't make any
I guess my question, Jacob,
sense.
what is a public hearing going to yield other than more discussion that's been held for the last 2-3 years now?
I'm about finding every last person,
So
every last
What?
person that lives out there or has any effect on them that maybe we haven't heard from, and this is gonna change the rest of their lives.
yeah.
Where you know you got the vote.
I'm not
So-
sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, sorry.
so we are looking to have a public meeting, right, to answer questions from people just like yourself, to get people answers. Sure. No, not at all. Sir, I would encourage you to come on the 13th to be able to answer any questions you have. Yes, sir, that would be exactly what we're looking to do on the 13th. So I would encourage you to come so you can have all the questions that you want answered. We're just trying to provide an opportunity.
Well,
We're just trying to provide folks an opportunity to get their questions answered and answer it the absolute best way that we can. And, with people who are, it would be a combination of myself and people from the project team.
We're not getting unbiased answers.
Yeah.
Our other people, that we're meeting, that's not a public meeting.
I think we're planning to have it be centered around the actual project itself.
Yeah, from your vantage point, which I understand, but that is not a public meeting.
And you can absolutely ask questions, certain perspective that you might have. We're going to have an entire evening to be able to go.
So we right now for the supervisors, you guys have a meeting, but we were promised a meeting to readdress the ordinance. And you guys don't have that authority of supervisors.
We did,
No,
we
we
did
have
talk
had
about
that.
readdressing the ordinance,
Yes.
and we decided we would not change the ordinance. We have a moratorium on the ordinance on any future projects.
we did that, but we can have another meeting and talk about that, but
But you're not gonna address the.
no. So,
So can the public bring professional experts on
Sure.
topics at this meeting to speak?
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a public meeting.
Anybody that's interested can come.
And they can speak.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll make sure we have we're planning to do kind of a brief presentation, question and answer, then break up into some different groups. We'll have kind of some stations set up with different subjects so you can go around and talk a little bit more closely with people who are really familiar with different aspects of wind in the application. And so if you have people that share a different perspective, you can absolutely bring and ask questions and just have your voice heard. That's
And
really
of
important.
course, their findings to the public.
Sure, absolutely.
I think it's fine for people to go and voice and talk and do, but something to this magnitude needs to be discussed. And I did also think it was said over and over and over again, that once the project's here, once it's approved, once it's looked at.
Public meeting.
Yeah, and it was also said, we can go back and look at the minutes and the video, it's all there, that if something is not
And yes, that's
kosher,
exactly.
not
right.
even,
Yeah.
and I would not even just say with the ordinance, if it looks like we're gonna have, because people kept saying, there might be one 1,500 foot from my house. Like, well, that might not happen.
Have you looked at it at all?
I have not. I got
Okay,
home
then
very
I
late
would
last night.
suggest as a supervisor, you might want to be getting busy and looking. at
Well, I
some of the
will,
start.
but
You know, I went
gotta
through
give
it
it to
last
yesterday.
night. I went through it last night, spent a couple hours on it. I was surprised. So.
I have had some people reach out to me
Mhm.
who have went and looked at it, are very concerned about their home.
Can I also ask a question, Chuck and Alan, as supervisors? How's come when the wind turbine company comes to a meeting, you guys don't ever ask them any questions? But I have watched other meetings where the jail people get up there, other people get up there to present, and you ask them all kinds of questions.
I have some questions, but I haven't had an opportunity yet because.
Because you're
everybody's
lying
talking.
about having a public meeting that you said you never said you said.
I didn't say that, we didn't say we'd have a public meeting. We're having a public meeting. There's a public meeting on this topic on the 13th.
No, you're
It is a
not.
public- That is a public
I do
meeting.
have a question before I
Like
forget.
this is a public meeting.
What Mary Ann brought up was very good. The question I have, where's the environmental study? Can I have the environmental study? I want to see this study.
Sure. I mean, so there's an environmental section there included in the application itself.
Is it complete? Is it the whole thing? I'm just asking, I've looked at it yet.
Yeah, it exceeds what's required there in the ordinance. If you have the other,
So is it the complete study you did, or is it just what our ordinance required? Our ordinance is pretty lousy. We put a moratorium on that. So
we do all sorts of different studies. So if you have a specific type of question that I could give you an answer
I
to.
would say I would like to have all the environmental study you did on what is in Page County. Fremont County separate, that's fine. But what is in Page County, as I sit here trying to represent that, I would like to have what data you got from the environmental study. in Page
Mark,
County.
can you send that to Jacob?
Absolutely.
Jacob, can you make sure he has your email address?
Yeah, it's on the county website. And
Yes, sir. I'll follow
And
up.
it's to complete what you found. Because I've got people have documented all kinds of stuff, send it to me and people. So I want to see if they match, see what makes sense or not. I'd like to look at that.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Mark, stop.
Jane, enough, please.
On the-
Jane, please.
On the packet, and I only spent about an hour on it. I didn't have much time yesterday. But I did notice that we have on the disk, the original map showed a different number of turbines in the county versus a final map. Can you address that? Because you said 28, and that's kind of what I counted.
Yeah, so, in between the time when we had, excuse me, filed the application, just based on, a handful of kind of questions and, yes, maybe not concerns that have popped up. We just looked at the layout, continued to look at it. We had a couple conversations with folks in and around the area, and removed a couple turbines that might have been in a position that would be slightly more impactful than others. So wanted to make sure that we put our best foot forward as we go through this process to not only say that I'm listening to people, that we're listening to people, but also kind of making those adjustments as we go. So those were some just voluntary steps, proactive steps that we took from the time we filed to when it got to you, to update the application and lost a couple turns.
Like I say, I haven't had much time. I intend to study it very thoroughly over the next couple of weeks, but that one
Sir.
popped out to me. Okay, thank
It
you.
was signed yesterday, so it became an official project. It could have been junk and nothing until yesterday. So it's official, and then JD gave it to us signed. So that's when the time starts. I don't believe 2 weeks is long enough at all. So I'm not okay with the 14th on the agenda.
Okay.
And I do not believe their meeting over there is a public Page County where we sit there and host this meeting, not at all. It is a meeting people can go to, and that's fine, but, and it's a good thing to do one of those, but it's not seen by any means as sufficing us holding a public meeting on it.
So as I dig through this, how's the best way to address questions? In an email?
Yes, sir. Yeah, an email would be great. Send it to Isaac and myself, and we can get back to you in that same capacity. And we'll be available, anything you have, any clarifying material you'd like to see, just please reach out and let us know.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, next item up is to discuss, approve, moving forward with the 2080 agreement pending legal review between our board, the Page County EMA Commission, and the Page County Sheriff for the purpose of restructuring management of EMA and dispatch services. So Chuck, you've been kind of leading the path on this. I know you sent us stuff at midnight.
Yeah, I'm sorry for
No,
being
no,
so
that's
late.
fine. I got up to read it.
We can't really act on it. I'm waiting on our attorney to go through it, and he's been busy with trial. And also with our auditor, once she has a chance to look at it, because it changes the structure of the funding stream. I mean, it's the same dollars, but just budgeted differently. And Lyle was at the EMA meeting. Our EMA commission was, I think, in unanimous approval of moving in this direction, which is basically what it does. It takes the EMA position and makes it an EMA position and separates it from the dispatch, from the radio part. And this is all intertwined because the bylaws have to change to do that. The 2080 agreement, there's a commission that is formed to make this work. The commission is between the sheriff, the board of supervisors, and the EMA commission. Brian Hammond, who is serving from Montgomery County in an interim, allowed us to look at this template, which is used not only in Montgomery, but in Mills and in Potawatomi County. It has been for a number of years. Seems to work pretty well. So anyway, once Carl and Melissa have a chance to kind of bird dog it, if you will, and make sure that they don't see anything that we're not seeing or that creates a budgeting issue, coding issue, then at some point forward, we'll get it on the agenda. But in the meantime, I want you to look at it and give your thoughts to it. And then the EMA Commission did vote to proceed with an advertisement to replace Chris on the EMA side. An ad will be placed this week in the paper. Ryan Hammond is disseminating the position through the EMA network, if you will. And we'll keep you posted. There's an executive committee that I appointed that will handle the processing of the applications and make a recommendation to the board. On that committee is Lyle, the chief of police in Shenandoah and Clarinda, the fire chiefs in both cities. And then it's their charge that as they get down to their finalists, they will ask for information and input from both the Shenandoah and Clarinda ambulance services, EMS. And the deadline for applying for the position is June 24th. I believe I've got, is that Friday, June 24th? It's a Friday that week. But I hope, you know, by the time, I don't think we meet next week because of the election, but hopefully we can have it on the agenda on the 14th after Carl and Melissa have had a chance to chime in on it. Does EMA questions about how that works or?
One of the biggest things is he's not going to, or he or she, whoever's the new director, will not be over scheduling and dispatch. That's the main thing
that Chris was doing.
Yeah, that'll be separate. Then it'll be, Lyle will be doing it. That's what, or who's
Lyle will take
the sheriff's office will be doing it, or
they will
Take that
assign, they would take on that responsibility. And part of the reason why when Chris was hired, why we did combine them was that, as you may remember, we were in the middle of a big radio project and that was going to take a lot of attention, and it did. But realistically, when we look at grant opportunities, it was kind of unfair on Chris or to keep it the same way because the EMA person is basically serving two masters and can't really concentrate on grant opportunities. So anyway, I think, you know, it's going to be a learning curve for everybody, but I think, you know, it's been successful in those 3 Southwest Iowa counties, and we have every confidence that we can make it work here.
okay.
Did you have anything you wanted to add about that, Lyle? Okay. So we'll take no action really on that. I just need a consensus from you guys.
Yeah.
Are you,
Yeah,
I mean, you don't have an objection
I
to
don't
move it
have
forward?
any objection at all.
No,
I think it
sounds
makes good sense. I always wondered why we had the two combined, you know, 2 different operations. So I know that got the dispatch to be in good hands. Are you gonna have to, go ahead, Lyle, do you have some things?
One
to-
thing that just set something in your minds is, under dispatch, the dispatch technically has been under the sheriff's office since we combined with the NCIC license. So that's been there. It's always fallen back there. Chris was just kind of managing it. And what we're looking at doing is possibly appointing a lead dispatcher to kind of take over some of those duties within the dispatch center. Anything outside of the dispatch center with radios or anything would still fall under the EMA taking care of that. That won't be under the sheriff at that point. That will be under the EMA, just like it has been at that point. As far as the towers, the microwaves, everything that sits on that, the radio equipment would fall under the EMA. The center or the dispatch is where we would appoint someone that does
Scheduling
that.
and-
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably look from within that are familiar with it. We have a lead dispatcher now that does do the billing. The auditor's office has been great to work with on some of that. They've helped us tremendously down there as far as the claims and any income, the revenue that comes in. But that part won't change. But the separation of duties, if you look at what they were getting paid, that will come down. We looked at what Brian Hammond, who I would say is a very, very good EMA in the state, makes compared to what we were paying, and separating those out, we can come more in line with what EMA throughout the state is making. And I think that's there. And then we'll look at what the position there in dispatch would increase to.
Yeah, the salary survey for 2022 for an EMA director in Iowa is $55,000. I don't know what the 23 when the budget gets put in there, it's probably going to be pushing 56.5 probably. And Brian, as an example, 10 years experience, $59,000. But so we'll be able to save, the county will be able to save some.
We'll be able to redirect some of that.
Redirect it and make it work out, yeah.
Well, it's already in the budget, but there'll be some redirection on what we can do there, and hopefully we'll get some more grants in. It will help us with some of the equipment, some of the things that maybe Montgomery County has come to realize that grants will do for their EMA. And maybe we'll see some of that when we dedicate that position solely to an EMA.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Lyle. Thanks, Chuck, for your work on this. Okay. Having passed through the regular session, board communication would be the first item on the list.
I did some looking into using art money for different things, like graders and things. And I talked to Jamie Cashman a couple days ago.
Yep.
I actually got to talk to him. And he said we could, it depended on how we turned in our
bill.
And I was gonna wait to ask you here.
Yeah.
Well, something to do with, since we got like, we went to that training up there, we got less than 10 million, which we did. way
Right,
less.
yes.
Then if you turn it in a certain way, you
Can
could
you-
use it for basically,
Why
how
don't
did we
you-
turn it in?
Why don't you have him address us as a board with suggestion of how we would?
I think he said it's already done though. Whatever has been chosen, we've already chosen. He said.
We can make adjustments.
Okay, well, what I was wondering was, I don't know that, I think it could go any which way with what you bought. I don't think that's a problem. What he was saying was, you had to choose whether or not you had, I'm trying to think how it's worded, like a deficit or.
Why don't you get it?
Yeah, revenue
Get
loss.
it?
Did we do
Yes,
that?
yes.
No, we did not do revenue.
No.
We
loss.
can't, we can't.
No, we did not do revenue loss.
No, because we didn't have it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well,
So that's where I thought.
yeah,
The rule changed a lot, but I think that's been thinking.
Yeah.
And the last,
we'd have had a revenue loss, which unfortunately we didn't.
well, training,
Yeah,
they acted like that.
yes,
Small counties who
right,
don't have a lot of revenue,
That-
under 10 million, it was
yes.
like,
yeah.
it kind of opened the door to them.
Some
even
of
if they
the,
didn't.
some of the counties that did, when you get into Taylor, Ringgold, Adair, where their dollars are a lot less, but ours, unfortunately, between the two communities and Essex and the local option sales tax and everything else, our revenues actually, DOT dollars, everything was.
Yeah, road use tax went
Yeah,
up.
everything was up.
I was trying to understand.
We looked at that a year ago, Melissa and I did, trying to determine if we had revenue loss, and we couldn't come up with any way to prove that we
Yeah,
did.
they
So
just,
that took us out of that picture.
Well, they did
yeah, they
change,
changed the
those
rules to allow you to
Yeah.
kind of do it
Yeah,
anyway.
right,
I think.
but I don't think we still
Yeah,
qualify.
no.
I'm trying to understand it, and
Yeah,
that was what would allow you to use it.
And I judged Melissa for her guidance on that. She just felt that we were pushing, we were not within the realm.
Right, okay, well, I was trying to understand it,
So if he has any other thoughts or directions, please have him share that with us in writing so we can
look
and see if there's anything else. So, and we'll still have another year, 2 years, because I'm sure we're not going to have everything expended before, year and a half. So we've still got several million sitting, or not several, we've got
There's also a way,
close
like we
to
talked,
2 still sitting in the account.
of taking savings here and adjusting budget there, and you can pay for things you might want to buy.
Right, which we have
couldn't
already
do with this
been.
money, but we can
Yeah,
do with this money.
Yeah, we've already been trying to do that with
Shuffle.
all the tuck pointing, all the windows, everything else. We've tried to do that, moving
Should free up other money.
the dollars for the digitalization, all of those things, the conservation, the work at the parks, everything has been trying to move those dollars into that are qualified, so we don't tie them up in the other. So that's, yes, you're right. It's going to free up several hundreds of dollars over the next 3 years of what we had
That's the secondary
planned.
plan, trying to figure out how to
Yes,
take what we
yes.
save
Right.
and then take that money, like our own
Right,
rescue.
yes, which,
And put in
yes, yes,
where we can get the
Yes.
most out of
yes.
it. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Anything else?
EMA does have a budget amendment, public hearing Thursday at 5 o'clock. It's supposed to have been last week, but there was a problem with the newspaper publishing. There was conflict. So that'll happen at 5 o'clock on Thursday. I do have one follow-up question of Mark Crowl, if I may. Mark, I think Brandon Hunter asked the question about the construction of the substation. Is that Invenergy's or is that Mid-Americans?
Since we've been Americans, we kind of do, it's a partnership with those types of things, given that we, it's really knowledgeable about the project up to this point. It's for Mid-American. So it's been in conjunction with them and
I have one more question. Who did Invenergy sell their project to in Taylor County within 6 to 8 months? Or whatever it was, less than a year.
in Taylor County.
Yeah, who did you guys sell it to? Mid-America. Okay, that's just, I thought so.
So, well, we would always encourage local contractors, but I can tell you that Sherry, we've had difficult time finding local contractors.
I know there's a local contractor that wanted it.
Okay, but again, Mid-American would have made that hire, not Invenergy. That's what I was trying to figure out.
It's cheaper to bring someone from White Park. Doesn't green, does more green energy.
Actually, Chuck,
Yeah,
there's a local contractor that actually bid that job.
okay.
That's what
we just found out. It's a competitive process, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Actually, he bid the job, and the person that he bid the job for stole it from him. So basically, he bid the job for the company that's doing it.
Anything else, Chuck? Did you have meetings last week?
No, I don't. We had, well, I think I already reported on the Zion meeting.
Yes, you did.
In regard to the ACT team, Public Health has a new director today. I'll stop in and visit with him, but I've potentially located another space that I'm gonna have the ACT team look at.
Okay.
Outside of our county space, because it just looks like it's gonna be difficult to make everybody happy.
The 10th is Hungry Canyon's meeting. 10th of June.
Okay,
And I've got a camp out, the boys, our church boys are going, we're gonna be gone, leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, June 6th, 10th. So I don't know who, if somebody wants, it's up in
I'll
Oakland.
talk to JD and see if he's going. That usually is our contact person, but
Yeah, I have an email I can send you, but I
Okay.
got,
What day of the week is that?
it's up Friday morning,
Okay.
Friday.
Why don't you forward that to both of us and then to JD, and then we can talk to JD and make sure.
If anybody
Yeah.
wants to go, but I'm.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be
night,
there.
And I'm gonna be gone.
Yeah, he'll be there, I'm sure. But if he isn't, then one of us can, so.
Okay.
Can
Okay.
JD serve in your role too?
He might be able to.
Yeah, he's been at everything else with you, hasn't he, Jacob?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
want to go, but that's the one day I can't. I've got to go to something else.
are they, is this, you know what they're doing on this particular meeting?
They're doing a little tour, kind of like we did here.
Okay, and
And,
that's,
looking at some erosion, tour, and then they're just having a meal.
okay.
And having an executive board meeting, which I'm not on the executive board
Right,
anyway,
right.
so.
So,
But it's
Yeah, and I
good to go
think-
to, but
yeah.
that
Okay,
day I will
okay.
be gone early in the morning, so.
Okay. Last week I had Wabansi Mental Health and SWIFTCO went Tuesday and Thursday, and both of those, a lot of discussion was around labor, wages, benefits, items such as that, trying to be more competitive with different things and rewriting the personnel policies in both of those organizations to some extent. The other thing, I just want to make sure you guys all received the email. Jacob and Chuck, you received the email on the request from our legal counsel, Hugh Kane. If you have any questions on you got the one that had the 11 requests. Did you look at that?
I think so.
Because they're, I think, and then there's also where he had the search request, where you type in Invenergy, Wind, Mid-America, everything, including Page County Horizons, and put all those together. Corey's going to come up with a Dropbox where we can dump all of that, our emails into that for legal representation. So anyway.
So we should probably send a copy of this packet.
Yes, yeah, I'll add that. I don't know, is that?
There's a thumb drive. in
Yeah,
there
the
with all
thumb drive.
You can just copy all that.
Yeah, I'll just do that. Yeah, I didn't look at the thumb drive last night, but I went through the other, so. Actually, Mary Ann, after the meeting, if you would like to visit with me, and I can send you direct anything you would like. So just wait until we're done, and then if you'd like, give me your email address and I can forward you that question you had on the environmental study. I found that in my packet. So anything else? Next item up.
Should there be a link to whatever this project map is, or not? Can there be a link to that? Click on, for people to click on? I don't know how that works, but.
Can you send me the link and I'll send it to Corey, and that way, yeah, that way it can be visible. The map pretty well tells where everything is, and shows the houses and towers. So if you want to send that to me, and I'll forward that on to Corey, and that way it can be on the website. Okay. That way, if anybody has any questions, approved claims. Did anybody get through that?
I got the bottom of them.
Okay. And also in that packet there beside you, Jacob, is a thank you from Dick Hunt. Just make sure you get that read. So for you, when you're done with the claims.
I make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item up is approve the minutes.
I'll move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Mary Ann, if you want to stop over and I'll send you that.